J'ouvre maintenant.
I call this meeting to order. Welcome to meeting number 27 of the Standing Committee on Veterans Affairs.
Order 1082 and the motion adopted on Monday, October 3rd, 2022. The committee is resuming in its study on the impact of the new rehabilitation contract awarded by the Department of Veterans Affairs on the role of the case manager and quality of service delivery. La réunion d'aujourd'hui.
Today's meeting is being held in a hybrid format in accordance with the order of the House adopted on Thursday, 23rd of June, 2022. And members can participate in person or via the Zoom application. So when you're not talking, please keep your mic on mute, also to facilitate interpretation. So all comments, just a reminder, all comments from members or witnesses should be addressed to the chair, please. Pursuant to our routine motion regarding connection tests, I wish to inform the committee that the witnesses have completed the required connection tests before the meeting.
I'd like to welcome our witnesses. First of all, we have the Honorable Lawrence McCauley, Minister of Veterans Affairs, Stephen Harris, Assistant Deputy Minister, Service Delivery Branch, and Paul Edward, Deputy Minister. So, Minister McCauley, you have 5 minutes or less for your opening remarks. So, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. First of all, thank you very much for an invitation to appear before you once again to further discuss the deeply regrettable and horrific situation that came to our attention over the summer when medical assistance in dying was discussed with a veteran. I've said it before and I'll say it once again, what happened was totally unacceptable. There is no way to justify it, and I will not try to do that today or ever. As all you know, I've directed my deputy to conduct a full and thorough investigation into the matter and to do everything possible to ensure this never happens again. Our investigation into the situation is ongoing, as is the labor process. But this week, my deputy updated me that through the course of the investigation, 2 subsequent cases with the same veteran service agent have been confirmed, bringing the total number of cases from the employee to 4. We expect all Veterans Affairs Canada employees to interact with veterans with care, compassion, and respect. And the actions of this one employee is simply disgusting, and I condemn this behavior in the strongest terms. I have instructed the deputy to examine all options in this investigation, including referring the matter to the police for investigation if necessary. I can confirm that the RCMP have been contacted and the department is taking steps to formally refer the case. Through the investigation, we have looked through hundreds of thousands of files from all of the frontline staff who deal with veterans, and we remain confident that this is all related to one single employee and is not a widespread or a systemic issue. But in light of these findings, I have also instructed the deputy to expand the investigation to look at the management of the employee, the department's quality control, and how this disgusting behavior was able to happen 4 times before it was finally brought forward to the attention of department management. Colleagues, this is deeply troubling, and if this behavior was allowed to continue for long as it did, it is deeply troubling that this behavior was allowed to continue as long as it did, and we're going to get to the bottom of how this happened. However, this is not a reflection of the hundreds of case managers and veteran service agents who interact with the utmost care, compassion, and respect with veterans every single day. This is one employee. I know the members of this committee will have questions regarding how these about these new cases, so I'd like to provide some information before we go into it. The incident on July the 21st is what began this investigation. Here I should point out that as soon as this issue came to light, the employee manager called the veteran to apologize. The second known time on December the 9th, 2021, which my deputy informed the committee of back in October, involved a veteran asking questions about MAID. The third known time occurred in 2019 when a veteran called the department for information and was directed to the employee. MAID was inappropriately raised, and this was the only time they spoke. The fourth known time occurred in May of 2022 when the employee provided information on MAID to another veteran. If any of the veterans in question are watching or listening right now, I am sorry. I am sorry you had to endure these appalling interactions, and we are doing everything we can to ensure this never happens again. We understand that incidents like this can create sanctuary trauma, and the department provides our frontline staff with a variety of training to ensure they're sensitive to the unique needs of veterans and their families. The department is reviewing our frontline training to address this. Thank you very much, and now I will take your questions.
Thank you so much, Minister. And now for the first round of 6-minute questions, and I'd like to invite the first VP of the committee, Mr. Blake Richards. Please go ahead.
Well, thank you for the statement and the update, Minister. You indicate so that since you were last at the committee on October 20th, you indicate that you've now found 2 more cases. If I understand it correctly, there's a total of 4. All confined, you say, to this one employee. You mentioned, so the 4 that, if I understand them correctly, the first one would be the one from the media report that was put out in August that was discussed at the last meeting. The second one would be the, and that one was where the veteran was pressured. It was brought up unprompted and the veteran was pressured. In the second instance, we're talking about the one that was brought up at the last meeting by your officials, where there was a veteran who it was prompted, but there was a discussion about MAID, and that veteran, as far as reports that we hear, has actually completed MAID and is no longer with us. And then there are 2 other cases that you've brought up today, one being from 2019, where, again, it was raised unprompted and inappropriately by the employee in question. And the fourth one you're mentioning was from May of 2022, and again, that was one where information was provided after being asked for by the veteran. Am I understanding that correctly? Is that the 4 cases?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, the case, I'm sure you're aware of the case that was reported in the media today, where a veteran came forward on a podcast last night, indicating that he also was pressured by a Veterans Affairs employee inappropriately to consider taking assisted suicide. Is that one of these 4 cases?
No.
Okay, because I suspected it probably wasn't, because my understanding of that case is that one occurred in November of 2021, and have you had a chance to read these media reports or hear the podcast yourself, Minister?
Thank you very much. The first thing I would do is ask Bruce, or that's the name that he used. We have very little information on this, and I would ask him to please contact us if he wishes to contact me personally, if he wishes to contact the Department of Veterans Affairs and just indicate who he is. I can assure that veteran that he will be, if he wants to speak personally in private to myself or the Deputy Minister or or any of us, anybody in the department, we will
Sure.
make sure
Sure.
that that number is provided. We
Thank-
just want to make sure
Yep.
that veteran comes forward and gets the appropriate treatment.
Thank you for that, Minister. And I know that veteran has indicated he does prefer to remain anonymous, but certainly I'm sure he's likely watching today. So if he's looking to take you up on that, certainly I will do everything I can to help facilitate that as well. And I appreciate.
I know you would, and
I'd
just like to say, get the ombudsperson too, if you wish to contact.
And I appreciate that, Minister. Having said that, that means that we now have a fifth case. This is a fifth case. And we do not know if this case is now then confined to this single employee or not. What can you tell us that you will undertake to do to investigate this? Because I guess my question would be this. Have you completed going through the files of the employee in question that you found the 4 cases? Has that investigation been completed?
We have completed a large number of investigations, and we have scanned hundreds of thousands of files.
But
and
that particular,
point,
sorry, Minister, just to be very precise what I'm asking.
Yes.
The employee in question, the one who you have now referred to the RCMP for potential charges, that employee, has your department undergone, completed, I should say, the investigation of all of that employee's files? So is this 4, are you confident that these 4 are the only 4 related to this employee?
Well, of course, as you indicated, there is another Bruce, or whatever his name is possibly a fifth. There is a fifth, and we have to make sure that that person is dealt with.
Sorry to interrupt, but I only have so much time. I'm trying to get some certainty here, some clarity.
Yes.
Has the files of this employee, have you finished going through her files or not?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Finished going through the files.
Okay.
Yes.
So in that case, either something was missed in this investigation, or there is another employee involved, and now it's a matter of determining which of those 2 things it is. In either case, that's concerning. Obviously, in the one case, it means your investigation is not nearly thorough enough, and that might mean there's a need for an outside investigation. Frankly, if that's the case, an external investigation, because clearly your department would have failed in the investigation in that instance. Would you agree with that?
I would agree that what we need to have, and I think you're fully aware of this, is the information from this veteran. What we want to do is find out just exactly what happened, what difficulties he had, and that's why I appreciate you bringing this up, and make sure that he contacts any of us or the department and gets the appropriate treatment.
Understood.
But I cannot tell you what employee it is.
No problem. So there's obviously more work that needs to be done here in terms of the investigation, and I will endeavor to do my part to make sure that you get all the information you need. There is, there's another matter here that this veteran indicated that he was told that there was another veteran, and I'm assuming it's the one that was referred to in your previous testimony, who had gone through with MAID at the suggestion of Veterans Affairs, and it was indicated to him that we won litigation to assist this member with MAID, and then in a further part of the conversation that we helped a member win a case in court to get assistance.
You.
Who was we? Did VAC help a veteran go to court to get medical assistance in dying? Was that Veterans Affairs? Who's we?
Excuse me, Mr. Richards, and excuse me, Minister. We're going to have another round, so we will be able to answer the question because the 6 minutes is well over. So now I'd like to invite MP Wilson Miao for 6 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Minister and official, coming again to our committee to address to this issue we have. And thank you for your update on this investigation. You said in your opening remark that the investigation is ongoing, and could you please explain the steps of the investigation and how confident you are and the department that this is only an isolated case to this one employee?
Well, of course, as you're fully aware, there's an allegation of or a situation brought forward by Bruce or whoever it is, and I've indicated quite clearly to my colleague previously that if he wishes to contact any of us or the department or wishes to talk to somebody privately, we're very open to that. As far as confident, like the investigation is not totally completed. It's close to being completed, but the human resource part of the investigation is also an issue that has to be dealt with. So that's basically where we are in the investigation. You can never be sure of anything until the investigation is over. But we're in the final stages of the investigation, and as I indicated in my remarks, and you heard that it's been turned over to the RCMP.
And just a follow-up question on that, how can you assure to this standing committee and veterans that all incidents have been uncovered? I understand one of our colleagues just mentioned another incident, but is this process being worked on?
Well, we went over hundreds of thousands of files, and we haven't found anything as of yet that would. We found the two cases that I indicated when I spoke, but beyond that, we have not found. But as you heard from the previous questioner, there is the situation with Bruce, and of course, we want to deal with this up front and make sure that he gets the help and assistance that he needs, and we're going to make sure that that happens.
Thank you. And Minister, what is the status of the labor relations process as it relates to the veteran service agent? And how do these process normally played out?
Well, of course, it's the labor relations issue is the human resources issue is an issue that is dealt with public servants in the federal bureaucracy, and I believe that it would be more than appropriate to have either the assistant deputy or the deputy to expand further on how that process works. But it's important to note that this employee that was responsible for four of the discussions is not talking to veterans, and then we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. And we will make sure that won't happen. That she is definitely not, or the employee is definitely not dealing with veterans. She's not dealing with veterans issues at the moment.
And I understand you talked about the timeline of this information you found.
Excuse me, Mr. Miao, could you please address your question to the chair, please?
No problem, Mr. Chair. And through you, Mr. Chair, could the minister explain how was this information uncovered, and when did you actually receive this update on the 4 incidents?
Well, I gave the dates, the first dates that the first information that we received when we received information from the department to my office, and immediately I instructed the deputy to conduct an investigation. And as I indicated, and when I spoke, and we found the 2 cases, we have now gone to make sure that's expanded to case managers and veteran service agent managers to make sure that everybody is covered on this issue and that everybody is trained properly. That is what there's a lot of training took place. I believe this about 75% of the frontline workers have had training, and we're continuing that process. It's also been questions and answers from the frontline workers just to make sure they fully understand what they can and cannot say. And of course, with MAID, the policy is if the issue is brought up at all by a frontline worker, they're to bring it to their managers immediately.
Great, thank you. And Mr. Chair, how much do I have with my time?
Excuse me, Mr. Miao.
Yes. Yeah. Do I have more time for my questions?
It's up to you. You have 1 minute.
Okay.
You will manage.
Okay. And well, through you, Mr. Chair, have the department contact with any of the families that of the veterans that was implicated?
Please, I say that again.
Have the department had any contact with the families of any veterans that is implicated?
Absolutely, absolutely. And immediately upon hearing it, the department issued formal apologies to the veterans or veterans' families that were involved. Absolutely.
And thank you for making the apologies to those families as well. Thank you.
And of course, I would
Chair-
like to apologize to any veteran that had anything to do with this situation. Totally unacceptable.
Thank you so much. Et maintenant, j'aimerais inviter.
And now I would like to invite member Mr. Luc Desiré, who is the second vice chair of the committee. You have the floor for 6 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hello, Mr. McCauley. Hello, Mr. Ledwell and Mr. Harris. Thanks for being with us. Hello to my colleagues here as well, of course. Minister, it's been 4 months since we started hearing about these allegations, at least publicly. Does the file make progress? At what point are you in your investigation?
Well, we're close in the final stages, Mr. Desailly, on the investigation itself. But the human resource area is an issue that has to be dealt with. And as I indicated previously, that it's been referred to the RCMP, and I'm not just sure how much time that will take. We want to do this as quickly as possible, but I'm sure we all agreed that we want to do it as efficiently as possible to make sure we take every step possible that this does not occur again.
Okay.
Just to fully understand, so the file was referred to the RCMP when exactly? Because when we met a month ago, this wasn't a point we talked about.
Mr. Desailly, you're absolutely right. And after I had my briefing with the deputy a few days ago, he indicated to me the measure. I had indicated previous to him to take every possible measure, and then he has indicated to me that he had contacted the RCMP. But I think it's appropriate to let the deputy expand on that if he wishes to.
Si je peux, Monsieur le Président, je peux vous...
If I may, Mr. Chair, this week we had consultations with the minister, and then we analyzed all the files and made the observation that there are 4 instances where the employee had discussions about the subject. We contacted RCMP yesterday to inform them and to start the referral procedure. When can we get the referral? Well, it's with the RCMP, so I can't speak to that. Are there other incidents before, for instance, the labor union or the ombudsperson's office? I don't know if it's Mr. Harris or you can answer the question. I'm not aware. We were not made aware by the ombudsperson's office or other organizations that there are other cases. Mr. McCauley, you provided an update on the file, so I'm just assuming that other than these 4 times that are identified, there must be other updates because you're now just telling us that it's with the RCMP.
I can tell you when the investigation is completed, and I did indicate this previously at the committee. The committee will be provided with the details of the investigation, so that you fully understand what took place.
Okay.
When was the employee suspended exactly?
I would have to turn that over. It's a human resource issue that's dealt with, Mr. Desailly, with the department. They handle the employee part. I would have to turn that over to the deputy. Thank you so much.
Quelqu'un dans les sous-ministres est au courant?
So when was the suspension? When did it take place? If I may, Mr. Chair, as the minister mentioned, the employee no longer has contact with veterans, and they are not currently at work. Okay, that's understood. So they are suspended. That's what we should understand. Well, I can't provide exact details because of privacy issues. But I can reassure you that the employee is not at work and they do not have contact at all, no contact with veterans. It surprises me that this information is not available publicly, given the incidents and now the 3 more that we know about. Normally, we should be informed. That should be made publicly available, that information. I mean, are they on sick leave? Are they on suspension? Did they resign? No?
I will tell you that we don't want to affect the case itself or whatever might develop. This is human resource issue, and we have to be careful. But I'll let the deputy, if he's got any more to add to it, but I doubt if he does.
Monsieur le Président, le ministre.
Mr. Chair, the minister is exactly right. We want to make sure that the investigation takes place as it should. Okay, thank you.
Merci, Monsieur.
Thank you, Mr. Desile.
Ask MP Rachel Blinade to ask questions for 6 minutes, please. Go ahead. Open your mic.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. And through you, Mr. Chair, I just want to express my feeling of frustration right now. We're hearing the last time when the minister was here with his crew, we were told that there was 2 incidents. Now we're hearing there's 4, there may be 5. It's getting really concerning. And I think the other thing that is important in this context is there is no way that the Department of Veterans Affairs could assist anyone in any way around MAID. That is something that is clearly not in the legislation. So, but at the same time, veterans should not be calling, asking for help and being offered this as something that they can select. And that's what's very concerning to me right here in this situation. So one of the things that I keep coming back to is the fact that, from what I understand from the last testimony on the 20th of October, is that when veterans call into the call center and have conversations, those are recorded. And yet if a caseworker calls the veteran, those are not recorded. And when I hear how much confusion there is about what happened, it seems to me that if there was a recording that was kept confidential, if veterans were made aware of it, that it would allow for the department to actually address this issue in a more meaningful way. So if I could just get clarity from you, Minister, and I appreciate you being here today. And I want to express also publicly my condolences for your loss not too long ago. I want just, can we get some clarification about, is this being explored so that we can protect veterans, so that when this sort of incident happens, there is a process in place that allows us to get down to the facts so that we can protect the veterans that we are hopefully all here to serve.
Thank you very much, Rachel. And as this is what the investigation is for, of course. And it's important to note that this one employee out of thousands of civil servants who are very compassionate and dedicated employees to Veterans Affairs Canada.
And I agree with you, Minister. I think most of the workers are incredible. And I think we both agree on that.
I know you do.
But to me, the point is that the department records some conversations, but not all of the conversations. And so when I hear from, and this is what we heard in the last testimony, that it's about confidentiality, if you're recording some of those, why are those conversations less confidential than the other conversations? It isn't making any sense. So if I could just really ask you to focus on, is there any discussions happening about making sure that there's recording so that if something happens like this again, you identify who the person is, you can go back and find that out so that there can be that higher level of accountability. And it also protects veterans. I think of like immigration. Every single call that comes into immigration is recorded. Those are very confidential conversations, often very personal conversations. So I'm just really not understanding the difference. And this is about protecting veterans. So is there any conversations happening within the department to consider this, or even give the veteran the ability to say, yes, I want this recorded, or no, I don't? Because right now we're hearing so much, it's not clear, and it doesn't feel like the department knows what's happening either.
Rachel, thank you very much. I know you care, and I know you know this department quite well. And you are right, call centers are general, and that is recorded. Case managers' calls and are medical, personal information, and it's a privacy issue. No, they will not be recorded because it would be inappropriate. And you did mention in your opening statement about MAID, and the fact is, absolutely no way can we have anybody here discussing MAID. That also is an issue that's dealt with between.
Thank you, Minister. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I only have a few minutes.
I only got two, and I want to answer your question. The point is, it's the same type of thing. It's to make sure that it's between the doctor.
But if it comes in through the call center, if comes in through the call center is referred directly to a case manager, just like that, from my understanding, that is recorded. So right. Unless there's something that I don't understand, if it comes through the call center, if it's forwarded to the case manager, that call continues to be recorded. But if a case manager, so I need clarification. I see Mr. Ledwell shaking his head. That's what I'm trying to ask. I need that clarified for this. So if I could get an answer to that, it would be appreciated.
Well, quite simply, when the call is transferred or referred, the taping stops. It is case managers deal with the personal medical issues, and that, for privacy reasons, cannot be called unless the deputy wishes to add something to it. But I believe that's
so. There's exactly no discussions about changing that at this time, Minister. Through you, Chair, I apologize. There's no conversations about changing that. Is that correct?
The reason why, the answer is no, because we cannot tape personal information, medical information, and we just can't do that, nor should we do it.
Well, thank you for that. So I guess the next thing I want to come back to is the training. We heard on the 20th that all workers are trained. Now I think you said 75% of them are trained at this point. So I'm just wondering, could I get clarification? Are all staff trained, or are only 75% trained?
About 90% of the people are trained. I think everybody in the department has got information on this. The information on the issue that's at hand is certainly well circulated, that you are not to discuss the issue. And that has been clearly indicated to all frontline workers to make sure that this is not discussed, Minister. And it's still up to the managers.
Thank you, Minister. Chair. Thank you. Time is up. So now for the second round of questions, I'd like to invite Mr. Richards, Blake Richards, for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you. I wanted to pick up where we left off, but before I do that, I actually do have another question. I think I'll follow up a little bit on Mr. Desilets' conversation with you. So you're telling us that the employee in question, and we're talking about an employee who now has counseled at least 4 veterans on assisted suicide. One of those veterans, there's widely reported to no longer be with us. So one veteran has lost his life. This has happened over the course of about 3 years. And you're telling us that this veteran is, or this employee is still employed at Veterans Affairs?
I can tell you that this employee has no interaction with veterans. This is a labor relations issue.
But Minister, the question is,
I'm sure you do.
I understood what you'd said. You're repeating what you said previously. Minister, if I can, because you're repeating what you said previously, and I only have so much time. I understand what you're saying. You say that this employee has no interaction with veterans. But you have referred the case of this employee and what they've done. You've called it inappropriate. It's potentially criminal because you've referred it to the RCMP. And there is at least one veteran who has lost their life as a result of this. And you're telling me that that isn't grounds to fire an employee? This employee is still employed at Veterans Affairs? That is completely unacceptable, Minister. Completely. Now, it doesn't seem like you're going to give me an answer, but it sounds like they certainly are still employed, and they shouldn't be.
Well, I'd just like to respond to you that, and I think you fully understand that the labor relations process is underway. There's a police referral. I think you understand fully what has to take place here, and we do not want to jeopardize the situation.
Understood.
We want to make sure
Fine.
that veterans are
We'll
served
agree to
properly.
disagree on that one, Minister, because I'll tell you, when we're talking about veterans who are being counseled to take their lives and being pressured, frankly, because in the first case that came forward in the media, that happened. In the case of Bruce, I would strongly suggest you listen to this podcast because you'll be appalled, Minister. In Bruce's case, same thing, a pressure applied to consider this. That's completely inappropriate. But let's return to where we were at in terms of the court case, because in that podcast, which I would suggest you listen to, Bruce mentioned twice that, and he used the words, he was repeating back what was told to him by the worker at Veterans Affairs, the employee at Veterans Affairs, and in both cases he used the word we. He said that they had told him that we had recently won a litigation to assist a member with MAID, and that we helped a member win a case in court with assistance. Do you have any idea who we is? Did Veterans Affairs participate in litigation or in court proceedings of any kind or any kind of legal proceedings to help a veteran have access to medical assistance in dying?
No, we have no record of a court case on litigation in a situation like this, but I can tell you again, and I think you want this to happen, to make sure that Bruce, whoever Bruce is, makes contact, because we want to help him.
Sure.
And you do too.
Yeah, we all do, and it's only a matter of how we do that, right? And so I really hope that you'll take this very seriously, because when I hear we, that implies it wasn't the worker themselves. That implies it was Veterans Affairs. They're talking on behalf, when they're speaking to a veteran and in their employment at Veterans Affairs, they are speaking on behalf of Veterans Affairs. So they've implied to this veteran that Veterans Affairs went to court on behalf of a veteran to try and give them opportunity to commit suicide. And that is obviously a pretty concerning allegation. So I hope you're going to investigate that, Minister.
Well, of course, you asked me a question. I would tell you absolutely yes, we are. And of course, I do take this stuff very seriously. It's heart-wrenching. It's what it is, to see the likes of this happen.
Absolutely.
And I want to make sure, and that's why it's referred. That's why we want a proper investigation. And that's why I wanted to tell you exactly what the situation was to the best of my ability.
Sure. And I appreciate you doing that, Minister.
We want to make sure that veterans feel very comfortable to come to Veterans Affairs, because we have a lot of assistance for veterans, and the veterans need the assistance. And we want to be sure they get the assistance.
And I appreciate that, Minister. I think the other thing you should investigate is the recording of calls, this situation of recording of calls, because what Bruce was told by the worker when he was trying to see if there was a recording of his call to find out what the heck was said to him exactly, he was so shocked. He was told by the agent he spoke to at that point that 1 in 25 of the calls are actually recorded for quality assurance.
Yeah.
So you've got employees who have either have employees who have the incorrect information, or policies aren't being followed. So I would suggest you
only
investigate that as
15
well.
seconds. Quick answer, please, and we'll go on.
Well, of course, I'm not sure that you want medical information to be recorded on veterans. That is not what they want.
This worker indicated that it was.
Thank you. Please, it was only 5 minutes, so I'm sorry, and I'd like to invite MP Richie Valdez for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you for joining us again, Minister, and your department. Through you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to share, in this committee, we've had the opportunity of having case managers come and speak with us, and they've shared how important their work is to them since they care about veterans. So I'm curious to understand, how are the other employees reacting to this in the department?
I appreciate your question, and I appreciate caseworkers or anybody coming forward and discussing the situation they're involved with. I live in Prince Edward Island. I meet the Veterans Affairs employees all the time. They're very proud of what they do. I would have to say that, and I've been in a number of departments, I find that they're so dedicated to the task. I always say the only place you can find a tear of joy and a tear of caring is in Veterans Affairs, and you can find that here. I don't know if the deputy would like to expand, but I think the atmosphere here is a bit of a hurting atmosphere too, because this we got so many dedicated, thousands of dedicated public servants in Veterans Affairs Canada that want and are doing a good job for veterans, doing their very best to make sure that we provide the services that they so rightly deserve. And this, yes, it hurts. I talked to veterans yesterday. Look, I meet veterans. I met a veteran that come up and he told me his first name and he said, I just want you to know, Minister, caseworkers saved my life. You know, and they do. It's hard to get the good stories, but it's so important to realize there's an awful lot of amount of good work, but veterans suffer. They see things that you and I do not see. And it hurts them, and it's an issue that you'll find that there's a very dedicated workforce here. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to clarify, how have the employees in the department, how have they been handling, the investigation with their current workload?
Well, of course, I will let the deputy speak to that. But as I said, they want this. They want this to come to an end. They want this to resolve in an appropriate manner, but in an efficient manner to make sure they're proud of what they do. But I'll turn it over to the deputy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to the question, and in addition to what the minister has said, that employees here are incredibly dedicated and very concerned that their dedication, the professional work in this regard might be called into question. They would want this investigation, this review, to be as comprehensive as possible to assure all of us, and for them included, that this is an isolated situation. And that's very much where the focus is. They're getting on with their work. They are serving and providing good and critical services to our veterans from coast to coast to coast, and they want to maintain that.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, how do you, Mr. Minister, and the department plan to repair the damage of the reputation of the department, given kind of what's been going on so far?
Well, basically what I can do is apologize, number one, for what happened to the individuals and to make sure we have an appropriate and in-depth investigation to find out just how this happened, how it wasn't addressed when it did happen, and to make sure we put a process in place that this does not happen. You're absolutely right. We're dealing with public servants here who truly, truly care about what they're doing, and we want to make sure that veterans feel fully confident and comfortable coming to Veterans Affairs Canada. We have a lot of services that veterans need and deserve, and we want to make sure that they feel fully comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last time you were here, Minister, through you, Mr. Chair, you promised or committed to provide a copy of the report of the investigation. Is that report finished? Do you have any updates there? And do you know when we're expected to receive it?
No, the investigation is not finished. Yes, I will provide a copy of the investigation to the committee, and it's only right to do so, so you fully understand just exactly what took place, how it took place, and what was done in order to make sure the best that we possibly can that the likes of this never happens again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Minister. And before I go to Mr. Desilets, I'd like to welcome MP John Nitter to our committee. Welcome. And we'll have now two quick interventions. And I invite Mr. Luc Desilets pour 2 minutes et demie.
For 2.5 minutes. The floor is yours. Thank you, Chair. I'm going to ask the Deputy Minister and Assistant Deputy Minister. Now, we talked about the employee being suspended and whatnot. I did not get an answer to that, but is this employee still at or working or not working at your department since when?
Le temps passe. J'ai pas beaucoup.
I don't have much time.
Mr. Desailly, of course, it's a human resource issue and it has to be handled in the proper manner, but I will turn it over as you requested to the Assistant Deputy Minister.
Excusez-moi, Monsieur.
Apologies, Minister. We had an interpretation issue. I just want to make sure whether Mr. Desilets is getting the interpretation.
Oui, je continue à parler en français.
I will keep speaking in French.
Well, now in English. Oui. Okay, perfect. Okay, so please, Minister, can you repeat the answer, please, because we had the translation problem. Please.
Very much so. The problem is it's a human resource issue, and we want to make sure that it's handled properly. And as you indicated, I think we would turn it over to the Assistant Deputy Minister.
Merci, Monsieur le
Rien de
Ministre.
plus là-dessus. C'est rare, monsieur.
So, Minister, you're using words such as unacceptable, very worrying, and I trust you. I am sure that you're an honest man, and I believe that what you're saying is true. But let's work on a hypothesis. Let's suppose that this employee in question is about to take their retirement soon, let's say. Will they have access to all of their accumulated rights as per their time in your department? Would they have the full rights? Maybe the deputies or assistant deputy minister would like to answer as well.
Turn it over. Thank you very much, and I'll turn it over to the Assistant Deputy Minister.
C'est le temps.
Stephen.
Je m'excuse pour le délai.
Apologies for the delay. What I can say is that the procedure will follow all the negotiations that have been carried out with the union. So during the investigation and the appeal process, all the rights and benefits of the employee will continue to be in place. Okay, I understand. So if the RCMP were to accuse this person of criminal act or criminal negligence, that wouldn't change anything in terms of their retirement. Is that what you're saying? I cannot speculate on the results. Can you, Mr. Desilets, apologies. You only had 2.5 minutes. Apologies. But we did lose some time. But I did stop the time for that. Don't worry. So now we go to Ms. Blaney for 2.5 minutes, please. You have the floor.
Well, thank you again, Chair. And if I could just come back to the training, I understand based on what we were sent earlier today about the self-directed learning that these are mandatory trainings. I see it is here around suicide awareness and so on. So I guess my question is they are all self-directed. So my first question is, how does the accountability work for this? I see that on the form it says fill out this tracking form. How is that assessed? Because I'm a little concerned here. So that's my first question. Is there a way to track? How is that taken care of? The second question that I have is this particular staff member who was the one offering MAID as if it was an option, which is still so concerning to me because we all know that within the legislation in this country that doesn't even make any sense. Has that member taken this training?
Thank you very much, Rachel. As you're aware, and I said before, we do have 90% of the staff had taken training and they had questions and answers, but I'll let the Deputy Minister expand on that because they are conducting that fully. And we have to make sure that all employees at Veterans Affairs Canada fully understand that this is totally inappropriate. But the tracking, I would have to turn to the Deputy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would indicate that the 10% who have not taken the training can be because they are on leave. Some are on maternity leave. So it's not that they are not or refusing to take the training, but they've just not in the office to be able to do that. It is mandatory to take this training and to attest to that. And as the minister said early on, as a consequence of this, we're also going to step up our training around sanctuary trauma. In terms of the individual circumstance, I can't speak to that. I can't attest to that. I don't know if my colleague has any information or some comment about that.
Are you referring to Mr. Harris?
I am, yes.
Thank you.
I don't have any more information about the individual employee's completion.
Okay, so the training is self-directed and they sort of just sign in. So there isn't really a fulsome understanding if they took the training and how they took that training in, because that I think is another question. I see my time is up.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Ms. Blaney. I'm so sorry. And now let's go to Mr. Fraser Tolmie on the web for 5 minutes, please. Mr. Tolmie, open your mic.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Ombudsman report, Auditor General report, PBO report, committee report are all saying failure to deliver service, Mr. Minister. And Mr. Minister, in your opening statements, the last time you were here and this time that you're here seem to conflict with what's actually happening within the department. You first stated that it was one employee and one incident, and then it changed from one employee to 2 incidents. Now we're at 1 employee and 5 incidents. In light of today's news, are you sure that it is only 1 employee that is offering MAID?
Thank you very much for your question. And the reason why you have an investigation is to make sure that you get to the bottom of the situation. I indicated quite clearly when I was at the committee last time that I asked the deputy to conduct an investigation into this situation. That was to find out the details. And yet, when you have an investigation, you find out just exactly what took place. Yes, we found 2 other situations, and I clearly stated that to you when I spoke. But of course, I'm concerned about. I'm surprised that you would say that that there's no delivery from the department. This department has worked so hard on the backlog.
Well, Mr. Minister, that's
you want. Please.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'd like to just.
But you asked me about delivery.
I've given you 4 different statements from independent reports, from Ombudsman report, Auditor General report, PBO, and our own committee, saying that we're failing in delivering service. Now we're actually analyzing how this service is being delivered, and what we're actually doing is offering MAID. Is it in Veterans Affairs mandate to help members win court cases in MAID instead of helping vets deal with PTSD and become integrated into Canadian society?
As you indicate, we have certainly no record of a court case, and I indicated that clearly before. But you also indicated that the ombudsperson, yes, and we certainly appreciate any information from the ombudsperson. Also indicated that we have worked very hard and have reduced the backlog from 23,000 down to about around 93,000, 9,300, which is not good enough. But as I indicated clearly, by next spring or summer, we will have it to the national standard, and that's what we have to do. I indicated when I became minister, that was the #1 priority, and by next spring or summer, we will reach that threshold. It's important that we make sure
Mr. Chair,
that veterans receive the benefits that they should receive in a timely manner.
Okay,
and we will
thank you,
do
Minister. Mr. Chair, through you then, does that mean that the investigation that you had told this committee the last time you were here has failed, needs to be reopened, or expanded in its scope based on yesterday's news?
Well, I failed. I don't understand. Reopened. I mean, it's not closed. How would you reopen something that's not closed?
Well,
I mean,
Mr.
it's
Minister, your
ongoing. You asked me a
investigation's
question, please,
obviously
sir.
overlooking things here. We've already got that we're failing in delivering a service, and now we're failing to find out the true scope and nature of what's going on within the department.
Well, you're talking about delivering services and an investigation, which is not investigation delivering service. Investigation was put in place in order to find out just exactly what took place. And an investigation finds out, if it's done properly,
well,
exactly
then I go back
what
to my
took
opening
place.
statement, Mr. Minister.
And that's what we're doing.
You don't know what's going on within the department.
Well,
please,
you don't want me to answer.
please,
you don't want me to
please.
answer. I'll answer if you wish.
Point of order.
For the
I've
interpretation,
not got an
for the
answer. Thank you.
Minister,
Point of order,
Minister,
please.
Minister told
Thank you,
me,
Mr. Chair.
please, for the interpretation, it's important to talk one after another because
Okay.
the chaos. I got a point of order here, Mr.
Yeah. Chair, I would appreciate if the member would allow he's asking 2-3 questions at once, and he should allow the minister to articulate answers to each one of those questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Well,
Sanson.
thank you,
So
Mr. Chair.
let's go back
Could I-
to Minister Macaulay. Okay, please answer the question from MP told me.
Well, I appreciate the question, and the answer is we're working very hard to make sure that we deliver services to the veterans on a timely manner, and we will do that. As he indicated, the backlog will be at the national standard by next spring or summer. The investigation, he wondered if it needed to be restarted. The investigation never stopped. And we find out new stuff in investigation. That's what it's about, to find out just exactly, to get the root cause of this and deal with it, and we're going to do that. Thank you.
Well, I'll circle back to how I started off. Thank you, Mr. Chair. But it seems to be that the minister doesn't know what's going on within the department.
Okay, 5 minutes, it's over. So now let's go to Mr. Torrance Rogers for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and welcome to the minister and to the officials. Minister, and maybe your officials might want to comment on this as well. I'm curious because of the new updated information, of course, how many veterans have actually brought up medical assistance in dying with their veteran service agents? And does the department keep track of this information? And will the department track this in the future? I guess, and further question, what steps will be taken to ensure that each incident is given the attention that it needs to ensure nothing inappropriate is being discussed with veterans? So, Minister, you could start, and if you want to ask your officials to comment as well, I appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Ernst. But the fact is, we will not be taping the informations with veteran service officers because, as I indicated previously, it's personal information, medical information, and we do not want to. We can't do that. It's inappropriate to do that because it's personal information. And as far as making sure that, as you indicated, that this does not happen again, we take every measure possible to make sure it does not, as the deputy has indicated, and Mr. Blaney indicated quite clearly that we have a program in place to make sure that the frontline staff are fully informed on what takes place and how to deal with issues, and to make sure, number one, and this in the issue at hand is that if that's brought up, it's brought to the service manager right away. They're not to discuss it. It's against policy to discuss that issue, and that issue itself is to be discussed between the doctor and the patient only, not recorded, anything else, but to make sure. But what we want to do is make sure here that we get to the bottom of this issue, make sure we find out. That's why we have an investigation, to find out just exactly what took place. That's why we scanned hundreds of thousands of files to make sure that we address the problem properly. And to this point, we have found one employee that has not handled this issue properly, totally inappropriate, totally wrong, And I know that's another issue that came to light today, but we have to find out, and hopefully we will hear from this veteran, and we will do everything we can to help that veteran. That's what it's all about, and I'm sure everybody around these tables want that. That's my job, and that's what I'm going to continue to do.
Thank you, Minister. And, given we've got this updated information today and the ongoing investigation, I just think, how were these issues missed? And what discussions are taking place with this employee's colleagues and managers to ensure that no one else was missed or no one else was aware of this, what was going on here?
Well, Mr. Rogers, on the miss part, what we did is what we scanned, as I said, hundreds of thousands to find the proper word. If that was discussed, we would have found it. But what we also have done, and I've instructed the deputy, and they're certainly doing it here in the department, to make sure that all employees, all frontline employees, are fully aware of what to do when this takes place. The fact is, in this situation, when the veteran calls, the veteran can mention what he or she wishes. But if they happen a mention made, that's to be brought immediately up to the manager level, and not to be discussed at all with the veteran and the veteran service agent. That's what the policy is, and that's what would take place. And that's also why I asked the deputy to expand the investigation, and also to make sure the information is clearly explained, and that the frontline officers fully understand what they can and cannot do. Vitally important.
So Minister, obviously then this employee totally contradicted the policy that the department tries to follow by making suggestion to the veteran in the first place.
Parents, you're absolutely right. Totally unacceptable. Terrible situation to have happened. Unacceptable, wrong, against policy, whatever word you wish to use. And it hurt veterans, which of course everybody around this table understands that we're here to help veterans, not to hurt them, and it's unfortunate.
Thank you.
We're dealing with human beings. And
Thank you, Minister McCauley. Thank you, Mr. Rogers, and Monsieur Lawrence McCauley. Merci aussi pour.
Mr. Lawrence McCauley, thank you for being with us. We'll continue with the two other witnesses. But before that, we will suspend briefly, and we will let you go. So, Honorable Lawrence McCauley.
could I thank you?
Yeah, thank you. So,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Yeah.
Nous reprenons la séance.
I call this meeting back to order. Now we have Mr. Paul Ledwell with us, who's Deputy Minister, and Mr. Stephen Harris, who is Assistant Deputy Minister, Service Delivery Branch. Members of the committee, what I suggest is that we start with a round of questions of 6 minutes each, and then we can continue with a second round. And I will also ask that you clarify who your question is for, if it's specifically for Mr. Ledwell or for Mr. Harris. So with that, I would like to invite Ms. Kathy Wagenthal for 6 minutes. The floor is yours. Please turn on your mic.
Thank you so much, Chair. I'll direct this question to Mr. Ledwell. In reviewing these conversations in regard to telephone calls being taped, it appears that not all are, specifically in regard to case managers calling the veteran. And I know this because this individual this morning indicated he had tried to get that conversation, and they said, well, it's been too long, it's likely been erased, and then also that it's 1 in 25 for quality control. Can you tell me, are these calls reviewed before they're erased?
Mr. President, thank you very much, member, for the question. And just to clarify, it is only calls that come in through our National Client Contact Center, our 1-800 number, that are recorded. Once a call that might come in through that source is referred to a veteran service agent or to a case manager, that recording stops, and there are no further recordings of those calls between the veteran and their veteran service agent or their case manager.
But sir, this individual said to the veteran that chances are that that call would have been erased by now because it's been too long, or with the case managers, it's 1 in 25 for quality control. If you're doing quality control recordings, they don't serve any purpose unless you are checking them. So just very quickly, yes or no, are they reviewed before they're erased?
Well, calls into the National Contact Center, yes, would be reviewed as a matter of course, but there are no other further calls that are recorded beyond that. The quality control, if I could, member, comes through.
I just have so little time, and I appreciate if they are reviewed, that's fine. Thank you. I am concerned because these individuals are growing in numbers. And you indicate that you've reviewed hundreds of thousands of case files to determine if the minister said the word is in documents. Can you tell me what the word is? Is it MAID? Is it assisted suicide? Assistance in death? What exactly are the words that were searched? Because if I was a case manager doing what it appears this case manager was, I would be very careful as to what I wrote down.
We undertook, if I could, Mr. Chair, a search of 402,000 unique files. The search looked for references to MAID in its various guises, as well as to medical assistance in dying. And through that, we were able to determine the 4 cases that have been established through this single employee, the 4 cases that are the focus, the real focus of our investigation.
Thank you. So those words were within files that you were able to retrieve that information from then?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. The minister said that, I think he contradicted himself somewhat in indicating that either the investigation was done or the investigation wasn't done. Can you tell me, as far as VAC itself continuing on to deal with this issue, is there an investigation continuing to go on within VAC, yes or no?
Yes, there is. The investigation is ongoing.
Okay, thank you. And he indicated that the issue has been referred to the RCMP because it's an HR issue. Can you tell me please, if what has been referred to the RCMP in regard to one single case manager, or is this a case where we need to be concerned that they investigate in regard to possibly more cases of case managers doing this? And I also, as Madam Blaney said, I hugely support and the work of our case managers, and the three we had before us a couple of days ago were exemplary. So please, in saying this, is it one case that's been referred to the RCMP, or is this a case of concern over possible other situations that need to be investigated criminally?
And if I could, Chair, let me thank you for your comments about our case managers, and obviously fully agree. These are 4 cases associated with one single employee that have been shared and informed with the RCMP, and from which they will be undertaking their further investigation.
Okay, thank you. It was mentioned that there's going to be more work done on training case managers in regards to sanctuary trauma. I found that interesting. Basically, the term sanctuary trauma refers to a veteran facing greater harm emotionally, mentally, because of the government not being able to meet their needs in a timely way or to actually provide the services that they should have. So is that something that you're going to train your workers on?
Yes, we plan to extend the work that we currently do around trauma-informed training for all of our frontline employees, any employee that has interaction with veterans, to really build a greater and deeper understanding of sanctuary trauma and some of the moral injury that can occur through sanctuary trauma, so that there is an even deeper awareness of the circumstances by which veterans are coming to us, and the importance of our interrelation with them and the way that we interact with them.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you,
I'm
Mrs.
sorry,
Wagenthal. Thank you so much.
I try to not look at the chair.
Yes, it's important sometimes because I still carried my red card and everything. So thank you.
Thank you.
And now I'd like to invite Mr. Darrell Sanson for 6 minutes, please.
Thank you, Chair, and I want to thank, of course, the Minister, I believe, has left, but thank the employees for the Deputy and Stephen Harris for their being here with us today and sharing some of the key information. I'd like to focus a little bit on labor relations process, because that by itself is an important part of how we deal with issues on the ground. Can you tell us what the status is on the labor relation process as it relates to our service, veteran service agents?
I will start, if it's okay, Mr. Chair, and I might ask my colleague to add to anything that I might not reference here. But it is an ongoing process that is not yet completed. It's guided by our collective agreement with the union that represents this employee, as well as our general guidelines around employment in the public sector. It was initiated very soon after this issue came to light. It is through this process, frankly, that we have determined further cases, and that has obviously put more emphasis and more seriousness around this undertaking. It's not yet completed, but we are hopeful that it will be completed soon. And I'll ask my colleague, Mr. Harris, if he has anything to add to that.
I think, thanks, Deputy. I think I would just add, it is a very formal process. It follows a case of determining what offense may have been committed, what circumstances or any mitigating factors that are in place, and then it's also considered, as precedents and guidance. So there's lots of jurisprudence around how this process needs to take place in keeping with the collective agreement, and so we're following that process.
Just trying to follow up on the morale, were other employees aware of those discussions? How would we know if they were? Did they bring information forward? Did they not? What happens if they didn't? Can you just chat a little bit about that? I'm concerned with the morale, of course, on the ground as well.
Thanks very much. And Mr. Chair, if I could say that it was really in the case that came forward this summer, the first case, where this was raised so directly and so seriously that it was shared immediately with the manager of this veteran service agent, and that manager engaged and others engaged soon after that. So it was raised in its seriousness. In terms of the morale, as I said earlier, there is strong concern across the colleagues who work in this space. And they're not just concerned about themselves, they're concerned about veterans and how this might keep veterans from coming forward. They are very much determined to be in a space and a place where we are here to support our veterans. However difficult that the circumstance might be, and to think that a veteran might not come forward to our department to seek help when they need help as a consequence of this is something that really does worry, I think, our employees and certainly worries us in the leadership at the department.
As a follow-up question to that, because it's extremely important, making sure that our veterans have the trust to come forward. So what have we done and what will we do to ensure that our veterans have the trust that they need to continue to come forward and ask for help and benefits?
Well, I think that we have our first face to the veteran in terms of how they're coming forward to ensure that they have the professional support that they require, that they have a level of care and compassion that comes from the employees, and I know that is extended quite extensively, and that if there is any concern from that veteran about the level of service, the type of service, or grave concern about the kind of direction that they are receiving, that they have recourse. In our own case, if there are difficult issues that come forward, if a veteran feels that they are not getting the level of attention or service that they require, that can be escalated very quickly within the organization to supervisory and managerial levels. And the veteran also has recourse through the Office of the Veteran Ombud, which was established precisely for these terms. So we have different measures to put in place, and we assure that we are working in team in our organization to ensure that the veteran has other places to turn within the department. And again, I might ask my colleague, Mr. Harris, if he has anything to add to that.
If I could just quickly, I would just say it's incumbent upon us to be proactive in disclosing the results of the investigation and sharing it publicly with members of the committee and with veterans so that they understand the action that we've taken as a result of the incidents that have been identified. They understand the seriousness with which we take it and how we're going to proceed in addressing this issue going forward. So I think it's incumbent upon the department to make sure that we're sharing that information broadly so everybody can see it, see the work that we've done, and see the work that we're doing to address it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. And now, nous allons passer à Monsieur Luc.
Now we'll go to Mr. Luc Desilets for the next 6 minutes, please. Thank you, Chair. Mr. Harris, I understand that it is hard to know the current status of this employee, but let's assume that they're not on leave, that they are not about to retire. Would you be able to guarantee that this employee will be either suspended or fired? We will wait until the end of the process to make the final call about their status with the department. We have to make sure that all information and all the facts are available before making a final decision. There is a process that is before us, and we will follow it to its end. So you already have a lot of elements, a lot of information. The minister was talking about a heart-wrenching, unacceptable situation, and I believe you have a sufficient amount of elements already, no? I think we first need to complete the investigation. It's not in the middle of an investigation or when you have enough information that it ends. There's a process that needs to be followed as per the collective agreement, and we have to take it to its end. Were you aware that the veteran in question had recorded the last conversations, that the veteran themselves, they have a recording of the call? I think this was shared by the media, and a witness that appeared before the committee also made the same point. I am not in a position to be able to confirm that this information, but I heard that this was done. So there is a random conversation that is recorded out of every 25 conversations that take place. Is that the case? Well, this is the claim that appeared in the media, but I can confirm that that's not the case. There is no conversation between Veteran Services Agent and the veteran or the families that is recorded. Okay, perfect. I don't know if it was you, Mr. Ledwell, but you were saying that there are thousands and thousands of files that were examined and that only in 4 instances the acronym MAID, Medical Assistance in Dying, came up. Is that the case? If I can, Mr. Chair, there were 4 cases where it was the employee who brought it up and not the veteran. Okay, I understand. Because it would be quite surprising that this does not appear, that the acronym doesn't appear in hundreds of other cases, because I mean, the suggestion of MAID or conversations around MAID is completely unacceptable, but occasionally in different files, maybe agents had discussions revolving around the subject without really suggesting it to the veterans. Are we clear on that? Yes, you're right. Okay. Okay, I like it when I'm right. Another question, something that got me worried a couple minutes ago. I think it was the minister or someone else, but that it was mentioned that 90% of employees follow the training on this subject. Is that the case? Okay. Could it be that older employees who are approaching their retirement did not have access or do not currently have access to this training? Everyone had access to this information, but there may have been leave situations, any kind of leave, may have led certain employees not to be able to complete the training, but the information, the training, it's not a self-directed training. This is just some information that is shared through supervisors. Is this a compulsory training? Yes. I just have this worry, and I'll share this with you. There's this company that will soon start delivering services to veterans. So 6,000 or 9,000 employees, will they also receive this training? Can we make sure that that will happen? That is my concern. We will make sure that people who work with contractors have access to the information that is necessary. Okay, thank you. That's all for me. Thank you for the answers. Thank you, Mr. Desile.
Ms. Rachel Blaney, for 6 minutes, please.
Well, thank you, Chair. I appreciate that. So I guess my first question will be to Mr. Harris. From my understanding, is it true that some case managers have actually been disciplined because they've given out their direct phone line to the veteran so the veteran doesn't have to go through the call center? And that often their reason for giving them the number is to avoid the veterans being triggered and having to retell their story at the call center to an agent. So I'm just trying to clarify if there's a disciplinary action and why is that the case when case managers give out their direct desk phone line to veterans?
I'm not aware of any disciplinary action. Our guidance that's issued to case managers and others is that staff members are permitted to share their VAC assigned numbers with their clients and their representatives when it's appropriate. And that decision should be made on a case-by-case basis and involve their manager. The issue we want to ensure is that a veteran who reaches in, if they're using a personal phone number, like an assigned work phone number, for a Veterans Affairs agent, be it that a case manager or a veteran service agent, we want to make sure that they get their call answered. And it's possible that they could call a direct line to a case manager, as an example, and that case manager is away on leave in some way, shape, or form. And if that is not updated appropriately, as opposed to voicemail or what have you, that veteran's call could just go into a voicemail box and maybe not be responded to immediately. So that's why we try and direct people through the contact center to make sure that whatever their need may be on that particular day, that they'll get responded to in an answer.
So am I to understand then that if a member goes on leave for whatever reason, their voicemail wouldn't regularly be checked with their absence?
It may not always be checked. So what we would ask is that members who go on leave, our case managers or others who go on leave in their voicemail who would be directed to follow up with. And so there are other contact numbers that may include calling to our 1-800-NCCN number. If they're going to be away for a period of time, it is possible if somebody leaves unexpectedly and is away for a couple of days, is not able to update it. It certainly is, of course, our guidance and our training that people update their out of office information, be that email, be that phone, or otherwise, to indicate who should be contacted in their absence.
Thank you. So since recordings are not currently used, which again, I think is a massive concern, and when you call and it does say it's going to be recorded, they often say that this is for quality assurance. So if calls are not measured or not recorded for some sort of internal quality assurance control, what is the process? Because what I'm hearing right now is that the only quality assurance is done through just the calls that come into the call center. So how do you know that services are being delivered the best way if there's no recording?
So we do quality assurance on the calls that come into our National Client Contact Center. That was indicated before. We do review those calls and work with our frontline agents.
And I understand that, but I'm talking about the case manager component.
So for the case managers and others, the distinction is in terms of recording those calls, you don't necessarily record your phone calls with your doctor. You don't necessarily record your phone calls with your lawyer, and some of these are similar type conversations. The second part is we don't record in-person meetings. We don't record transition interviews. We don't record a whole host of other interactions. And so recording only phone calls would be only one way of looking at it.
So,
but I could speak to the quality assurance.
So I guess my next question, I think I've got it. Thank you, Mr. Harris. I appreciate that. And thank you to the chair for his patience with me. I understand that. So I guess my next question is around how does quality assurance happen? And I guess I'm going to switch that up a little bit, because how does the department, in terms of quality assurance, measure that the training that is self-directed, that you do individually online, how is it measured if that information has actually been absorbed by the member? How do we, or the case manager, how does the department know that that person has understood it and is actually taking that training? Because I remember in October the 20th, I asked specifically around training for people who are dealing with members of the public that have experienced trauma. Trauma-informed services are really important, especially for veterans. And quite frankly, with what we're hearing, somebody really fell off and was not doing what they should have been doing. So how does the department know that the information from this training, which, let's look at it, how long is this training on suicide? An hour and a half how do we know that it's actually been absorbed and is being used if there's no form of quality assurance that is even once in a while recording? And the second part of that is there any way for a veteran to say, I want this conversation recorded?
So my reply would be lengthy. We probably don't have time to go all through it. What I would say is we do quality reviews and quality assurance on client notes. We do compile lists of people who have completed that self-directed training. So we do ensure that even if it's self-directed, somebody actually has to fill out that they've completed that self-directed training. And then we do regular performance reviews with individual clients and others, individual employees and others as well. So there's a number of regular check-ins to make sure that A, training is being completed, B, training is being absorbed and applied in the appropriate way, in the way in which they would be interacting with veterans, including things like client notes and others along the way. That's sort of a very short answer to what would be otherwise a long one.
Thank you, Ms. Bliney. Thank you so much.
Chair.
And thank you, Mr. Harris. And now let's go to MP Blake Richards for 5 minutes, please.
Sure, thank you. I appreciated the minister being forthcoming with the fact they had found 2 additional cases since his last appearance here on October 20th, and obviously I've also appreciated his concern when I mentioned to him a 5th case, which I'm sure all have heard about. It's been reported in the media pretty thoroughly today. So the 5th case that we're talking about now, quoting from the podcast itself, this veteran was referred to as Bruce. So I'll call him Bruce. Bruce said this. He said, I'd been suffering from PTSD and recently had a lot of suicidal thoughts. And I was kind of hoping that they would help me with my transition out of the military, help me find new doctors, et cetera, et cetera. And what he got instead, and he says this, I wasn't expecting them to let me know, hey, we had recently won litigation to assist members with MAID, and that's always an option for you. And then they went on. He insisted he wasn't interested in that. They went on to pressure him, told him, well, just remember, it's an option. It's something that's still available to you. Very much like what we heard from the veteran who was first reported in the media back in August. Now, this occurred back in November of 2021. The minister indicated there's been 1 case as far back as 2019. And I know this particular individual, Bruce, he has reached out to me personally today. And has indicated that he really would like the opportunity to have his story told. He really believes that it will help, and I agree with him, that it will help to ensure that this doesn't happen to anybody else. He wants to be able to do so anonymously. I don't think is comfortable with the idea of speaking to the minister or the department for that very reason. He wants to be able to stay anonymous. And so I'm going to move the motion, Mr. Chair, the following. That the committee invite the individual referred to as Bruce during episode number 258 of the Operation Tango Romeo, the Trauma Recovery Podcast, to testify before the committee on or before December 12th of 2022, and that he be given the opportunity to testify in a way that would preserve his anonymity. So just to speak to that real briefly, because I'd like to see if we can deal with this quickly and agree to have the individual appear so that he can tell his story in the hopes of making sure that others don't go through what he went through. And I think it would be very informative, obviously, for the committee to be able to hear from him and ask him questions about his experience. So I hope we can deal with it quickly and return to give opportunities for questions to any of my colleagues who still have them. But I will just point out quickly, just in argument for the motion, that there is precedent for this type of a situation. There's been at least 2 instances that I know of where this has occurred. In October of 2018, there was a witness that appeared before a Citizenship and Immigration Committee in this way. And in February of 2021, there was 2 witnesses who appeared before the Ethics Committee, Information and Ethics Committee, in such a fashion. So there is precedence for it, and I would hope that this committee would give this veteran the opportunity to tell his story as he wishes to, but to do so anonymously. So I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Thank Thank you, Mr. Richards. I know that we can have a committee in camera, but I'd like to know how that the clerk will be able to contact that Bruce we are
Sure.
talking about.
As I've said, he has been in contact with me. He reached out to me, so I have a manner of contacting him, and I can make sure that we do that in a way that preserves his anonymity, but ensures the clerk has the ability to reach out as well.
Okay, thank you so much. Excuse me, Madam Burke, who is on the... Oh, yes, Mr. Casey, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I, for one, am quite interested to hear from Bruce. I think that if we can put the precautions in place for that to happen, that we should. I know that when we had another veteran, I think it was Mr. Meinke, he had a conversation with a veteran involved in the first case who was concerned about the disclosure of his identity, and that was preventing him from coming before the committee. I would suggest that he be invited under the same terms and circumstances to the same meeting. I would also point out that we have already set aside one more meeting to hear from veterans. These two people are veterans. This in-camera special session should be the second meeting.
Mr. Richards.
Just a point of order on that. We're obviously dealing with two different studies. The study that that the veterans have been invited to appear on is the rehab contract. This is obviously a different matter. So I would suggest that not take up the matter of the other study. But I do, since I guess I've got the floor. I don't know. Was there anyone on the speaking list?
No, you can.
Okay, so then
yeah.
I'll just move from a point of order into the speaking list. Then I certainly appreciate the suggestion, and I'd be happy to accept a friendly amendment to invite the other veteran. However, I will point out that I have heard from individuals who have spoken to him, including Mr. Mankey, who say that he wouldn't be comfortable in appearing. However, if the committee would like to invite him, I certainly think that would be fine. I suspect he would decline.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Casey.
So I'm back to the same concern that I raised at the last meeting that prompted my resignation from the subcommittee, and that is this constitutes a further violation of the compromise that was made in camera with respect to the scheduling. So while I do think it's important to hear from this witness in the circumstances that have been provided, I do think that when people make commitments in camera, they should keep them, and that's a problem.
Okay, thank you. And I'd like to say that Ms. Blaney on the web and Mr. Desilets do not hesitate to intervene in that discussion. Monsieur Desilets.
J'en comprends.
Mr. Desilets, well, there's no time. The latest we have before us is December 12th, and if you only want to invite Mr. Bruce, are we looking at a 1 hour meeting or a 2 hour meeting?
Blaney.
Mr. Richards, then Ms. Blaney.
I mean, I can respond to that. I'm comfortable with whatever the committee feels appropriate, or perhaps if an hour would be helpful, so that it would be more possible to move on to other things. I think that would probably be sufficient for this veteran to tell his testimony and give some opportunity for questioning. I'd be comfortable with that. If there was to be two of them, it might need a little longer than an hour then. But I'm open to.
Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt,
Yes,
Mr. Richards.
Ms. Blaney.
I can't hear him. I can't hear Blake. I don't know about other members, but I can't hear him at all.
Okay.
So
Okay,
I think he may need
Rachel.
to speak
Yeah.
a little closer.
Yeah, sorry.
I think I probably was looking away from the microphone, and probably in the room it was audible, but not to you on Zoom. So my apologies for that. All I was indicating was that I'm comfortable with whether it be an hour, 2 hours. I'm comfortable with whatever I didn't specify it in the motion because I don't think it was necessary to specify a certain number of hours. If it's important to somebody that it only be an hour. If we're talking about one veteran, I think I'd be comfortable with that personally, but I'm open to whatever the committee feels. I just think it's important that this veteran have the opportunity to speak to his story and that we have a chance to be informed by his experiences. So.
Thank you. And Ms. Bliney, go ahead, please, if you have any.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and I do support this. It sounds like some other things happened while I was away, and I don't know if we're supposed to talk about them in this venue since it is a public venue. And when we bring up things that happen in camera, I would think that we were breaking the in-camera conversation. So I just want to point that out. And I also want to say that things change because issues arise that we need to deal with. And obviously, this is an issue that is incredibly important. And actually hearing from a veteran who had the experience, I think will significantly help the committee. I agree with the 1 hour. I think, we should be mindful of that and maybe perhaps offer that to the member, to the veteran. I don't want to put a veteran up for 2 hours and feel that we're really grilling him over something that is just very probably upsetting. So I think if 1 hour fits and that works, then I'm absolutely in support of it.
Zile, à vous la parole.
Mr. Desile, please go ahead. So then it would be 1 hour with this person. Given, if we have a second person who accepts the invitation, we might need to bump it up to 2 hours, depending on how comfortable they are. But the last bit of my question is that you've introduced the deadline of the December 12th. I would ask why. And if we're introducing a deadline, should it not be further ahead? Because in our preceding studies, there's been new information that's been shared with us. So should we not leave time so that maybe additional interesting bits of information will emerge in the meantime?
For me, it's the deadline is simply I'm mindful of the fact that we are approaching the time in which the Parliament will rise before Christmas. And that would leave this veteran sort of hanging, wanting to be able to have the opportunity to tell his story, leave him hanging for 2 months, essentially, maybe longer. And so I'm, mindful of the fact that, he's come forward. He would like to be able to have this opportunity, and I want to make sure he gets that opportunity without leaving him hanging for, for an extended period of time. And so December 12th I saw as sort of the last date on which we can probably assume without a lot of question that this committee would meet if we were to look at the parliamentary schedule. So it's simply for that reason. And I don't think there's anything that would prevent in our schedule that would prevent it. I know we do have another study we do plan to begin, and I look forward to that study as well. And I hope that we can commence that before Christmas as well. But if that's not possible, I would much rather see that wait than have a veteran who wants to have the opportunity to tell their story and leave them hanging. I think it's far more important that we hear from the veteran. So.
C'est clair, merci.
Okay, it's clear. Thank you.
I understand that for that motion, it's for an hour, and it will be in private, in camera.
No, I don't think that the examples I've cited were not in camera, so the matters are then part of the official record.
Okay.
It's just that the witness is able to be anonymous.
Perfect. Thank you. So, bien alors, je mets la.
Okay, we're going to vote on the motion. If there is no one else who wants to take the floor, is there any objection to adopting the motion presented by Mr. Blake Richards? I'm not seeing any objection, so the motion is carried. So with the clerk, we'll take the necessary steps.
Is there time?
Yes, you have 2 more minutes, so I apologize to our witnesses. So now you have 2 more minutes.
Sure. And I apologize as well. And I think what I will do, I know I have some other colleagues who would like to have opportunities, and I've taken far more than my share today. Mr. Tolmie, I know, had some questions. I'll turn the remainder of my time to him.
Yes, Mr. Fraser told me, so open your mic. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have already established in this committee that in 2016 MAID came into place, and it was a conversation between a doctor and a patient. The minister stated earlier that when vets call and ask about MAID, that this is moved up from a caseworker to a manager. And earlier, my colleague mentioned we in reference to a court case referenced by the National Post and the podcast. So through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Ledwell, why is this happening? Shouldn't a caseworker, when approached about MAID, shut the conversation down and say to the vet that this is a conversation between you and a doctor?
Mr. Chair, thanks very much for the question. Yes, absolutely, we agree with that statement. It should not be a conversation between a case manager or veteran service agent and the veteran, unless the veteran has made the determination in consultation with his healthcare professional and is seeking information regarding benefits or any consequences to the benefits for that veteran or their family. I should also indicate, member, that we have looked into and have had our legal staff look into cases where this has been challenged in the courts, raised in the courts. We've not found a single case. So where veteran Bruce, as he calls himself, as indicated on the podcast, has raised this issue and suggested that Veterans Affairs Canada was involved in this, we are completely surprised by that. We find no record of that whatsoever, not only in our case, but in the courts as well.
Okay, thank you very much. And you know what? Why I asked that question is based on conversations that we've talked about training and the mandate for Veterans Affairs. And so what I'm asking is Veterans Affairs allowing for a loophole to get involved in the MAID conversation where they shouldn't be?
Absolutely not, member. That's not the case. Our policy is clear. Our guidelines are clear. It is a conversation that should not take place in any substantive matter between a Veterans Affairs Canada employee and a veteran.
So would it be fair to say that the issues that are arising, if this is bigger than what we expect it to be, is because there's been problems in the training or unclear in the mandate?
If I could, Mr. Chair, as I think we've established through our investigation thus far, it is clear in all of our reviews, 402,000 file reviews, that these are 4 cases affiliated with one employee. This is an isolated situation, as we've been able to determine. It is not widespread within the department.
Thank you, Mr. Ledwell. And now for 5 minutes, who's gonna? Mr. Sean Casey for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Ledwell, when you appeared before the committee on the 24th, on October 20th, I had asked you whether the union had taken a position with respect to this case, and you said that they had not taken a public position. Has that changed since you last appeared before committee?
No, it is not.
Have you seen the letter that they sent to the committee today?
I have not seen that letter.
Okay, let's go through it, because this appears to be the first public proclamation they've made with respect to this with respect to this issue. So they have attached something that was sent to Veteran Services agents on November the 14th, asking them to take mandatory self-guided learning. And then they reference something called NOTP training that has been offered in PEI since 2018. What's NOTP training? Mr. Harris, can you help with that?
It's a national orientation training program. And so it's our group here that offers centralized training on all things related to interaction with our veteran clients. That's for case managers, for VSAs, and for others as well.
Okay. So the letter that has been submitted to the committee and is therefore public indicates that training was held in PEI since 2018 for new employees onboarding, but since the pandemic, these have moved to virtual, and I presume that means you, Mr. Harris, Mr. Ledwell, and the department, were not providing most training during the pandemic on suicide prevention to new employees or refreshers for staff who had been there for many years. So I would ask you to comment on the veracity of that allegation, that public allegation that the department, since the pandemic, has not been providing training on suicide prevention to new employees or refreshers.
So as you note, the training since the pandemic started moved virtual as people weren't in offices, people weren't able to travel. And so it has continued in a virtual format, and that has included training related to suicide prevention.
The next sentence talks about a course called Assist Suicide Prevention Training. What is ASSIST Suicide Prevention Training Program that was apparently delivered through something called Living Works? Can you help us with that?
I have to go back and get the specifics of the actual details of that particular program, and I'd be happy to provide them back to the committee.
Okay. Specifically, I'm looking for a response to the union's public statement that that there used to be a course called Assist Suicide Training Program through Living Works. However, the national president of the union can't remember the last time that Assist was provided in our department. So it appears that you can't either. Maybe it's quite dated, but I think it would be helpful to respond to that public statement.
I would be happy to provide information back to the committee related to the training that's been offered during that period of time.
Great, thank you. I had asked the last time you came before the committee about whether it is possible to terminate a civil servant, and the response that I got was any disciplinary action, including termination, is subject to collective agreements. Have you had conversations or any involvement with the union? Have they reached out to you to attempt to collaborate in resolving this issue, whether it's through a disciplinary process or any other process?
If I could, member, it is, of course, possible to, through a disciplinary process, to terminate an employee, particularly around misconduct, particularly around a series of misconduct. The union has been engaged through the disciplinary process, but that is a standard practice that the union would have representation alongside the employee through that process.
Back to the letter for, I'm sorry. It appears my time is done. Thank you very much for being with us. This is an extremely difficult issue, and we appreciate the professional way in which you've handled it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kessy. Nous avons donc les deux dernières interventions.
So we will have the two final question rounds of 2.5 minutes. And first, Mr. Luc Desilets. Thank you, Chair. So I will ask a question along the same lines invoked by Mr. Casey. Have you had in the last 2 years any case managers who were fired? I would need to look back and find information. I think the answer is no, but I'm not 100% sure. I need to check. How many case managers do you have in total in Canada? Approximately 475 case managers. Can you give me an example where a case manager might have an inappropriate relation with a veteran that you had to manage? What would it look like? Well, I don't really have a collective agreement type experience in my recent example. In my recent experience, I've been here in this post for a short couple of years, but I don't really have a collective agreement type example. But I do know that case managers work with our staff to make sure that their relations with the veterans are appropriate. sometimes they might engage in conversations that are a bit too personal than necessary to help the veterans in what they're dealing with. Okay, so these case managers have supervisors, right? Yes. So the supervisors, are they usually aware of the content of the cases that are managed by a case manager? I would say yes. So occasionally they would need to report to the supervisors. There is a performance management aspect to their work that is throughout the year, and they get together with their employees. Supervisors get together with case managers in this case to work on their cases and on the veterans that they're helping. So the supervisor of this employee, were they aware of the manner in which the employee she had with the veterans? So was the supervisor aware in this specific instance? Well, this was not a case manager. This was a service agent. They were not aware of the indicators that were already in the files and concerning MAID. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Desile.
Now I'd like to invite Ms. Rachel Blaney for 2 minutes and a half. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Chair. And if I could come back to you again, Mr. Harris, I really appreciated your answers last time around, so I think I'll come back for a second. So the first question that I have is it possible for you to table with the committee the system of performance review? Absolutely, not details, but just what the methodology looks like so that we can better understand.
Sure. The system of performance review is guided by Treasury Board Secretariat for all public servants, not only in Veterans Affairs. We can certainly make sure that that becomes available to you.
Thank you. And I'm wondering, when this performance reviews are done, are veterans ever a source of the performance reviews, and what does that process look like if it is so?
Veterans aren't consulted directly. However, sometimes veterans are included in terms of case notes that are referenced. There could be veterans who've escalated issues. So if the veteran service agent or the case manager who they're dealing with directly hasn't responded effectively to their needs, as Mr. Ledwell pointed out before, there is measures for escalation. And so feedback from veterans and the support that's being offered to them does get taken into account in terms of the performance review process.
So if a veteran is having a case manager and feels concerned about something, they have a clear process, and that process, could that also be shared with what that process looks like and how that complaint is followed up with? It would be, I think, extremely helpful for the committee.
There's a variety of ways for escalation. Sometimes that includes reaching out to somebody in the office directly. Sometimes that's a phone call into our client contact center. Sometimes that's a message into someone like myself as a senior official. So there's a number of ways to do that. We can try and collect a few of them certainly for you and share methods of escalation for veterans who may have questions or concerns about the service they're receiving.
Well, thank you. That's really helpful. And I think for me, what's really important is that we don't want this to happen again. And the best way to do that, of course, is to see systems become stronger. And so I think that would be really helpful for the committee. And then the last question I have is just a repeat of last time that I didn't get an answer. If a veteran asks for a conversation to be recorded, is there any method of doing that?
There's not a method of doing it on the Veterans Affairs side. Often veterans have indicated that they're recording conversations that they may be having with a Veterans Affairs representative. And so in some cases, they will note to us that they're actually recording the conversation. In other cases, they won't tell us, but at future points, they may come back and indicate, I have this recorded as to what was said last time or what have you. We don't have a method of sort of just clicking a button and starting to record a conversation if requested.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, and that's conclude our panel. So I'd like to say thank you to our witnesses, et nous avions avec nous Monsieur.
So we had with us Mr. Paul Ledwell, Deputy Minister, and Stephen Harris, Assistant Deputy Minister in charge of the Service Delivery Branch of the Department of Veterans Affairs. So once again, thank you for your testimony as part of our study. I would like to also remind members that given the motion tabled by Mr. Richards, next Monday, we will continue in camera on the draft report on the survivor pension benefits study. And as you know, many people worked really hard to make these meetings happen. So if you'll allow me, I will thank our analyst, accompanied by Madam Berg, and our analysts, the translation and interpretation teams, and all the technical teams who have come together to allow us to carry out our meeting. So is it the pleasure of the committee to adjourn the meeting? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.